So thank you everyone for spending your time, and let's just make it a really good one. You saw Tracy's announcement. I'm not gonna ruin it in case some people haven't seen it yet, but if you haven't seen it, go to Local Guys Connect because it's really sad. So with that,
Yes, please don't talk about that. So I don't want to talk about it now.
yeah, so let me talk about the good. So let me introduce our beautiful guest, Tracy. So Tracy has been, part of like the community manager for Local Guys for 9 years. She was part of the inception, the planning, um, and you can she's just someone that she doesn't need so much introduction. But the two things that I would say that stands out to me personally, and I think others can say the same, is that the first is that I'm happy. You can tell she's a local guide first, right? Not just because that's how she started, but literally in everything. You can tell that like she's constantly asking like, how would the local guys feel? What are things to enhance the experience? And that she really connects and she really does care. And the second thing I think that really highlights her personality is that she's genuine. So, a lot of times I was kind of nervous, and I think I told you, Tracy, I was kind of nervous because you seem so vibrant virtually, right? And I was like, I hope it's genuine. So the minute I saw you, you literally are yourself. So I think that's one thing she really cherishes as well in her interactions with people, is that you can always expect her to be herself. So this is just a small introduction. We're about to get to know her a little more and her thoughts. So can everyone just like give a little, I don't know, air round of applause or welcome for Tracy? Yay. Okay, so again, I have my amazing fellow team members from the One Accessibility team. So a lot of you have been joining us for our monthly webinar, and we hope to continue this. So we thank you. But basically, we have our amazing initiative, Emeka, who is the brains. Like you should see the way Emeka leads and just always thinks ahead and is so strategic. So he's been doing amazing. We have Jessica, a powerhouse. A force to be reckoned with. We have Erna. Erna is amazing organizing, and she's been moderating our past several webinars. We have, I believe, Mukul here. So we have members of the team, and I just wanted to say welcome to everyone. I hope I didn't miss anyone. I don't think I missed anyone. Sorry, guys. So welcome. So with that, I'm gonna stop talking and get started. Tracy, you ready?
I am definitely ready. I feel like I was born ready.
Right. Okay, Tracy, so we're going to start. There's some questions that may be more specific, some might be lighter, but here we are. So the first question is, how and when did you start your accessibility advocacy? So everybody, the theme of this, it's around making maps more accessibility and key milestones. And we're here specifically from the community manager. So it's geared around Google Maps and accessibility. So that the first question is, how did you start how and when did you start your accessibility advocacy?
Yeah, I think it really was. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for having me. Sorry, I'm like, right into my favorite topic, contributing on maps and accessibility. So apologies for that. And please, at any time, yes, Adrian, I have lip gloss on. And if at any time you're here live and I'm talking a little too fast, as I tend to do as a native New Yorker and someone who's really excited about this topic, just let me know. I will not be offended. So thank you again for having me. And to answer your question, when did I first start my accessibility advocacy journey? I think that a large part of my life was in preparation for it, and I can explain more about that. But I think specifically in 2016, and some of you may know this, I visited London, and it was my first time in London, and I was really excited to be there because I'm like, wow, New York is historical, but London's like the OG, right? Super historical. So I visited as many places as I could. And my story really starts with me looking around at the pubs and going, where's the restroom? And a lot of the times the answer was, oh, they're downstairs or it's upstairs. And for someone like me who enjoys lots of water and lots of beer, that's just annoying. And for me, I was like, wow, what if someone who used a wheelchair needed to use the restroom? Can they not use a restroom? What if someone had a broken ankle? What if someone had a baby and a stroller or a pram? And so that's a little peek inside my mind. I was just like, wow, this isn't okay. And then a little bit around that time, I met Sasha, whom you all know, an incredible Googler. And, meeting Sasha further made me angry about the situation around the world. And because Sasha had joined our team at the same time, around that time in 2016, I was able to chat with him and learn what we can do. And then internally, we started brainstorming about what we can do through the local guides program and maps. And really, I think 2017 was the biggest part of my advocacy career, which was, working directly to bring an initiative to the community to increase accessibility awareness. But I'm sure you have questions about that, so I'll just stop there. Oh, you're muted, Janoso. Oh.
Thank you so much, Air Whispers. I'm glad you brought up London, and I know you're definitely like an avid traveler. So based on like all the cities you've been, which one would you say, and it may be hard to choose, but which one would you say has been the most inclusive for you?
Yeah,
And
I
then also like, what does that inclusivity like, and what does it look like to you, right?
absolutely. So I think for me, there are a lot of I have a lot of personal preferences, which I've talked to a lot of people that will, I guess like I have very sensitive ears. So, and I know that that's something that is pretty common amongst the folks with autism community. And so that is something I started to include in my reviews. So that's like purposeful to me. But I really do look at it from the lens of who is this establishment not welcoming in initially, not intentionally themselves. They may not know, they may be a historic building. So I really look at the bare minimum for me, and that is an accessible entrance and accessible for a person who's using a wheelchair or a pram, or just maybe someone who's got big hips like me. I don't know. As well as a restroom and comfortable seating. We can go into my preferences, but that's the basics for wheelchair accessibility. That's what I look at. I feel like that's the most inclusive. And I really have to say, I felt like Tokyo was absolutely incredible for that. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, aside from secondary to that is also one of Sasha's favorite places, which is in the Bay Area, Berkeley, California, which I believe is the home to the Curb Cut, but which I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time there this summer. But first thing that came to mind was Tokyo. Elevators everywhere,
Mm.
you're thought about in the design from the beginning and not as an afterthought. And so the New York City subway system, particularly, doesn't you can't get in and out of every train station. And if you are going one way and the elevator is not working, you have to keep going until you can find an elevator, then ride back down, cross over, and it's just a mess. So in Tokyo, that was one of the things I kept looking at as I was on the transit in the system, as well as the restaurants themselves all had wide doorways and seating and accessible restrooms.
I think Tokyo, like this is the first time I've heard Tokyo being mentioned as like the most, so that's really interesting. I'm definitely gonna look into so you mentioned, well, it's just a side note, welcome everybody. So this is our 12th edition of the webinar series. The accessibility webinar. We have our special guest here. So thank you all for joining us. And Traci has been so kind to lend us her time. So thank you, Traci. Traci, you mentioned something about earlier about what you include in your reviews. So one thing I wanted to ask, and I think several of us were wondering when we do include reviews on accessibility, does that actually help the disability community, like the community? And are there any specific cases you can think of?
Oh, absolutely. So I think one thing, obviously, and actually, so actually, let me say Tokyo. Maybe it was the area that I was in, but I was in Roppongi Station, a very modern area. So I just want to put that on as a disclaimer. I felt that it was great, and I was really looking out for it. If someone else who has that firsthand experience has a differing opinion, let's go with their opinion. So just want to say that. And then in terms of your most recent question, which was what, is the information you include in your reviews helpful? Absolutely. I don't think as many people realize that the information, the words that you use in reviews, all of those sorts of pieces of information are searchable, just like when you're searching on Google Maps. So if someone is looking for a chocolate mousse cake, they could just type that into Maps. And the same goes for accessibility information. So I think it's obviously you have to dig a little more to make sure it is accessible or it is not accessible for what you're looking for. And I do think we have a lot of differing opinions. So, for example, whenever I review pizzerias, I note like I'm a New Yorker. I like New York City style pizza. I like this pizza. You know, I don't want to go to Chicago and be like, oh, this pizza's terrible, because it's not, you can't compare. So I think context is really important for that. And that is definitely something that is considered when creating the summaries for places, obviously in the searches, and then everything that you include is a story. So you're telling a story throughout your maps contributions. So I think that's also really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And side note, because I've been wanting to ask this question. So you know they have the 99-cent slice pizza. Those ones taste, honestly, they taste really, really good. Maybe it's better than some actual like, chain restaurants. So what are your thoughts on those 99-cent slice pizzas? I help myself. It's my secret
Look,
obsession.
I'm going to say it. They are great after a late night out. And I have had, I used to work in Midtown where you couldn't get a meal for lunch under like $15. And
Oh,
I mean, that adds up, right? Like you're like, it's like once a week or once a month, you're like, yeah, I'm happy to get that $15 quesadilla that's worth $2 like a mile away. However, those pizzas, they are pretty good. It really depends on the place, but I think they're pretty good. Would I pick it over my local pizzeria? No, but for 99 cents, it gets the job done.
that's a good way to describe it. It gets the job done.
It gets the job done, right? You're not hangry anymore.
No, it's true. I agree. I agree. No, and Tracy, you're very fantastic. You're fantastic at answering these questions. Very on point, really. So one thing I want to know, I want to kind of backtrack a bit and talk about your role with the community. So what has been your overall experience as a community manager in regards to accessibility?
Yeah, so I think one of the coolest thing about working in community is being able to take your passions and find people who care about it. So I think that's really the coolest thing. I was like, oh, I want to help the accessibility. I want to help the community that cares about accessibility information. I want to help the folks that need this information. And so for me, it was really like, can I do this through work? Can I find people who care about it? And accessibility has always been important to Google. So, in coming up with this idea with a couple of other folks, this campaign that I led, with a number of folks across, Sasha, who's an engineer, we worked with a number of product managers, a number of marketing folks, like my own leadership team. And in bringing the idea to them, they were like, absolutely do this. This is obviously one of the most important things to Google. This is going to change the way that accessibility information is on maps, and it's going to motivate and educate the external community. So go for it. And so that was really cool. But then the community element of it was seeing all of those responses from all of you that were in the community at the time, and then having those meetups. I was in Buenos Aires, hi guys, and I got to meet the community members, and it was just really cool to me. I had known, for those of you who know Fareed, I got to meet Fareed at this event too. And I don't think Fareed is here today, but Fareed and I were able to somehow communicate with my broken Spanish in just a way that was so amazing. And we didn't really need the words. We were like taking photos. We had a bunch of meals together, and we were just like gesturing. And again, in my broken Spanish from 3.5 years, many years ago, talking about those elements. So it's the people. That's the coolest thing, that no matter what you care about, there's always going to be a local guide that cares about it too. And or more than you. I mean, I think you all, I want to acknowledge that you all have really taken it to the next level. And for me, I was like, oh, like that feels so amazing. And I know that you all are out there contributing this information, and that it's the thing that you are focused on right now. And it's so incredible. Because for me, it's become more of an everyday type of thing. However, I do look for new ways to get involved as much as I can.
Well,
Not a part of me.
oh, you're right. Let me get someone. I don't think she knows. Okay. So you're also
It was the soundtrack for today's meetup.
So Tracy basically gave us a compliment, y'all. So I want everybody to take a second and like pat themselves on the back for their good hard work.
You
You
should
deserve
absolutely be
it.
proud of that. Yeah.
So and also Tracy, like in a way, you pretty much indirectly, I think, described the idea and purpose behind Connect, right? Spreading that information, bringing people together, and I think in terms of accessibility, making sure no one gets left behind, which is beautiful. So, in terms of that, how would you rate the level of awareness of local guides since the inception of Connect, since the launch of Connect?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Local Guides program has been around officially since 2015. We'll take a little, ooh, Valeria, do you have mate? I get easily distracted. Sorry. Yeah. It's so funny. I think everyone on this side is someone whom I've met before in person or at least virtually. So I digress. I'm very sorry. This is exciting for me. Like you said, I'm a local guide first and like a public speaker, like all the way at the back of that list. So back to that answer. So we have been local guides since 2015. And then in 2016, we launched Connect. So with Connect, it definitely made us easier to both increase the awareness of just the local guides program, but also leverage Connect as a way to share information. And that included all of the accessibility information. So we started sharing information. Well, that's a lot of informations in a row. We started sharing a lot of posts that shared, here's what to look for. Here's why accessibility matters. Here are some examples. And that's just continued to grow over the years. So I'd have to say, it's been pretty great in driving awareness for both the local guides program and accessibility. And the site itself, we're quite proud of because it is screen reader accessible. It has a really high we have an internal rating system for accessibility. I know that there's always room for improvement, of course, and with technology evolving, screen readers update every year. And so that's always something that we can continue to update. But yeah, I don't know. Why don't we ask the folks here? I mean, did you learn about why accessibility was important from Connect or someone in the program? I mean, I've learned so much from all of you.
Yes, I think if you all, yeah, you all can even participate. You can type it in the chat. You can type your rating. Maybe let's say from 1 to 10. 10 being what the most, right? The highest.
Sure.
And how it's yeah. So I think it would be good to also see those kind of feedback. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you. And so one thing, okay, so aside of that, basically you inspired a lot of local guys to become champions in their community. After your first post about GAD in 2017, did you expect such a large response on this?
I don't necessarily think so. I think you hope for the best. And especially, not everyone is on Connect. I think we recently shared, it's funny, I look at the corner of my screen to see what month it is because what is time, right? I feel like we say that often, but over the summer, we celebrated our 5th anniversary of Connect, and we have over 1 million members, and it's just been incredible to see people come on, and we don't know everybody's first post, but several people, comment on like our accessibility posts and say, hey, tell me more. And this is still happening every day, even though some of the posts from us are a little bit older, or they're posting on an announcement that brought them here because they were just trying to figure out how they can improve the map, or just luckily they got to Connect when they were just searching for accessibility information. So again, that's another thank you to all of you for making Connect a place where people can ask those questions. And I'm pretty sure, I don't do the day-to-day moderation anymore myself, but we don't have anyone asking any rude questions or no one being mean. And I think everyone's just looking for help and information. So I had no idea that this would result in all of this.
No, I think one thing I would say is commend the team, you and the team, is that I think you're right. It's been great. I can tell you carefully select the leader, like the moderators, whoever's the voice, because like the community is so, even when they give feedback, it's constructive. It's like, it's a community first.
Yes.
So I think I can tell like this heavy thought process behind that and conscious effort, continuous conscious effort. So thank you and the team for that.
Thank you. So now I'll be sure to say that. I'll share that with them because and it's the exact time mark there, because they are everyone who is a Google moderator. They are paid, of course, and they care so deeply about all of you. And that's really important to me, obviously. And then the Connect moderators are just folks who just should be there. So we have a couple of Connect moderators on today. Thank you. And I think that they also care very deeply as well. And it's funny because sometimes I'll read a thread and I'll see someone, maybe just being demanding, like, why don't we have this? And then the responses that come from it are just so beautiful. And I think that really goes to like our core values is like, we care and we're inclusive because we recognize that maybe, New Yorkers are much more direct than folks from other places. So if I'm like, this is a mess, someone will be like, hey, why don't you say this could be cleaner? And I love that. It keeps me in check too, I mean, like, have you not seen those obviously not a mess, but those conversations, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. If we could only like clean up other social media sites, right? It would, like, the world would be such a better place if everyone was a local guy that cared this much.
Right. And I think there's someone, when you made that comment, there's someone that just came to mind. I think Hermes, the way he like comments and leaves, it's just so beautiful. You're just like, it makes you think. It's like feedback, but it's so helpful. I don't know. I like the way he writes.
Oh, yes. Hermes from Treviso.
Hermes,
yes, he's one of our Connect moderators. But I have a confession too. I was calling him Hermes for the longest time. And I was like, I've never heard this name. And then I realized it was Hermes T. But it's funny. Everyone calls him Hermes. And I've been doing that. I did that for probably a year before I met.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Sorry, Hermes.
Okay, so you've had this whole, like, so many experiences, you've encountered a lot of people. So if you can really think, and I know this is very general and vague, so I want you to really just pinpoint the most interesting thing you've encountered as an accessibility enthusiast and as a local guide.
What is the most incredible thing?
Interesting
thing. I feel like and I know we kind of talked about the questions, but I'm like, interesting. I think that's a tough one. I think there's just so much that I hadn't considered before, from everything to the height of soap dispensers in restrooms. Like, there'll be a nice wide big door and a handle in a restroom that allows anyone to use it for support if they need, or to transfer from a seated position in a wheelchair to the toilet. But then I'll notice like the sinks are super high, or like there are just not opportunities for people to just complete their process. Like it's a half done measure. So I think I would say that's been curious, less interesting. But interesting is just hearing from everyone and how accessibility has touched their lives, or the need for accessible information. And I think that's been really, really cool. Like who here hasn't shared a story about someone who's broken a leg? If you've broken a leg yourself, God forbid, I hope no one breaks a leg anytime soon. I've only broken an ankle and it's not fun. But just all of those elements, like the stories are the most interesting thing, really, that humanize it for me.
Right. So it seems like you're just very in tune with the environment. You really observe, because it's very tough when you go places, especially somewhere where you're enjoying, and the first thing you think about is, okay, what about others? How could this be? Can others enjoy these same experiences? So I love that. So in as you're, observing these features, one thing I want to ask is, what has been the most helpful feature for you in Google Maps? And this is just in general.
Yeah, in general. There's so many features. This is like when someone asks what my favorite product is. I'm like, Maps, because it's like, that's the answer there.
Yeah.
For me, I really love lists. It's just such an incredible way for me to keep track of all the things. Like, I have an example. I was meeting with my new manager, who will become my new manager in a couple of weeks. And he was naming places that in San Francisco that are places he goes to. And I was like saving them as he's talking about them, because I want to visit in the future. So lists are definitely my favorite way to organize information and places on maps. So if I had to pick one, that's that. And second to that are those additional attributes that I can click through when I'm looking at a place page and just get it all in a glance. Is this good for groups? Is this an accessible place? All of those sorts of things I want to know. So that's my second favorite feature. Yeah. I'll stop there too, because you will not get me to stop.
No, I can tell, like, lists are, because I think, well, one, it was included in like the Connect Life application, but two, I think there are a couple of posts where someone shared a list and you specifically made a comment about them having that list, so I can tell.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh, I save lists that you all send me. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hopefully have like I had an opportunity to explore Abuja with I was trying to remember. It was like just a couple of years ago with Emeka and Samson. And I can't wait to have the opportunity to go to Lagos. And I have lists for that too. It's just perfect.
no, it's true. So on in addition, continuing on that list, behind the scenes, so I know like, there's a continuous improvement on Google Maps to help improve inclusion. And I don't know if this would still be your most interesting feature, the list, but basically what feature would you say is the most interesting for you in regards to inclusion, accessibility? Would it still be the same list?
Yeah, I mean, probably not so much the list for me, unless I'm looking for a specific like category. Like if I did need to plan an event or an outing that was specific to making sure that it was accessible by everyone in my party, right? So that's something that they're still great, but that information also lives on maps. I will say, however, with regards to accessibility, that accessible layer is just like great. Like I love that. Turning on my layer, and it's funny, I just got a new phone, so I had to turn it on, and I didn't realize how much I missed it because I don't know about you all, but I spend a lot of time just like scrolling around the map sometimes at night, and I'm like, where do I want to go next? And that's been really important for me to figure out where I'd like to go and the places I'd like to show love for.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know.
What about you?
Me?
Yes. Am I allowed to ask questions?
Now you're putting me on the spot. Oh my goodness. Um, no, honestly, when you said list, I had to cite a follow-up question about that because I'm like, I noticed, I was surprised you said list because I feel like 2 years, there was more of an emphasis on lists and creating lists like a couple of years ago. And maybe because as you're advancing more, you're adding more features, maybe people are like now incorporating the list into their daily, habits, but I know when I first started, and I think you, Roy, I think you, Roy, is the one that really helps because he makes lists for everything. Like he has a lot of lists, and I think he actually shared me a link, something in Abuja.
Oh,
No, yeah, yeah. So, and exactly, whenever I go into the
yeah.
places, I'm always like, okay, what are the top things in this area? So,
Yes.
I think for me, that's interesting to think of it. But the first thing that I would say is interesting is exactly those, because those, yeah, the layers, the
Yes.
icons, right?
Yes.
And also because I'm lazy, so so I'm just like, okay, what about this? It's just easy.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it. And I think that's
Yep.
what's great. Like hopefully I, you know, in a couple of years, because I just know the world operates a little slowly, but in, less than 5 years, I hope that everyone's aware of the concerns of others and just making the world as inclusive as possible so that everyone feels like they have a place to go. And no one should feel that sense of dread or anxiety when picking out a place if they celebrate their birthday to celebrate their birthday.
Mm.
And I think that would be amazing if we can get to that point. And of course, in the meantime, and forever, I'm sure we'll always have that information on maps. So thankfully, we've got a friend in that respect.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. Well, I want to take a pause quickly just to welcome some of the new guests that came. Welcome, everybody. This is our 12th edition of our webinar, One Accessibility webinar. And we have amazing special guest, Traci, the community manager for Google Local Guides. We have about 15 more minutes of questions with Traci, and then we're going to open up to the floor. So start thinking of questions you have or you've been wanting to ask her. We're going to try and keep it in the beginning, the the interactive session. Let's try and keep it to the topic of accessibility on Google Maps. And then maybe towards the end, I'm sure you have more personal questions if Traci would like to answer that. So stay tuned. There'll be definitely time for you all to ask questions. No worries. But thank you again, Traci, for spending a little bit of your time here. We really, really, really appreciate it. And we know you have a hectic schedule. So we appreciate it, to say the least.
I have to say, this is like the best. It's 10:30 in the morning here in New York, and this is one of the best ways I've started my Saturday. So thank you all. I must confess, I've been sleeping in far too late. So this was amazing. Like, thank you.
I was telling was Erna, like before you came on, that like it was, yeah, it's morning, and yeah, Saturday morning I had to set like 10 alarms because I was like, I hope I wake up.
It's always the time that you're like, I'm sure when you don't have to wake up, you're just like me. You wake up and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, great. And then on the weekend comes, you're like, why? So I hear you. I understand completely.
That is true. Okay, let's get back on back to the topic. So my next question for you is what's your, so I don't know, as you can tell, some of the questions are more specific, and some of them we just want to know what you're thinking, what goes into the behind everything you do in your daily work, right? So what's your vision for for an accessible and inclusive world, and what are you doing personally in your little way to make this happen?
I think the start of all of any topic that you're passionate about, there are a lot of things to be really passionate about right now as the world has been changing so much, and I'll leave it at that because I think we can all fill in the blanks. But I think it's the starting of conversations that are so crucial. And so, whenever anyone, I should say, whenever anyone listens, I don't, set up a soapbox in the middle of New York and tell people about it. But I think it's just the conversations. And so when I visit a place, I have a great example. I visited this new restaurant in Brooklyn called Flatiron Restaurant 2. They have the 2 because they're not related to the 1 or 3, but it's because they needed a different name. And I was commending them. I was sitting at the bar with my aunt. We were having a very belated birthday dinner, thanks COVID. And I was talking to the manager, and I said, your space is so beautiful. It's reminiscent of like an early 1900s, or I should say around the 1920s speakeasy. And so, like it was like old wooden decor. I can share the link to my review and everything. And I said, but what I really love is that you've made everything accessible. The doorway, you have outdoor seating. There are all of the tables are low enough that you can sit at eye level if someone is using a wheelchair. Same thing goes for, and the restroom, of course, the restroom. And it wasn't all cramped in. And I hope that stays the same. I feel like New York restaurants start out with like, a good amount of space between tables, and then soon you're all best friends and celebrating each other's birthday at the same time. So I think, commending him on that. And he was like, oh, why do you care? And I was like, well, I work on Google Maps and I work with a community of people who care about this information. And I said, aside from that, it's just great that you're sending the signal that everyone is welcome here. And so I think that has been something that I would love to see to continue to expand and expand and that's the way I show up every day in having those conversations and reminding people like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, or hey, we should do that. And the should do thing is very less related to work. It's more of like in my personal conversations with friends and family. And I think, unfortunately, but fortunately, it's become more and more prevalent as my friends have had kids, and they're like, wow, when you have a stroller, you are just like not able to do as much as you used to. And I'm like, well, okay, now you understand, but and it's not that they didn't understand before or needed to know someone, but I just think that like really brought it top of mind for them. So I almost feel like, how cool would it be if everyone learned about this information in, when they're 15 years old, and maybe there's some sort of empathy workshop. And I don't know, just I think about that constantly. And if I may also, I want to say that I'm really from a young age, I was fascinated with the deaf community, and I learned sign language. Like it was like a little song dancing in the streets. I can't even remember it. And so I talk about wheelchair accessibility a lot, and accessibility is just so expansive. But I did want to mention that I also keep an eye out for menus that aren't spoken, especially as you go to, fancier restaurants who don't believe in giving you a menu. But side note, who here can remember what a restaurant offers without a menu? So please bring back menus, all you fancy
Oh my
restaurants.
God,
Right? Like they'll come out and they'll tell you the special, and then they leave, and you're like, did you?
Wait.
What was the special? I was like, well, I know I don't eat fish, so I'm not. That doesn't matter. I was like, was that a burger? And was that a beef burger or a lamb burger? Because I don't eat lamb. Like I don't get that. But imagine if there was a deaf customer and they're unable. They're like, obviously they would probably work it out or maybe handwrite it if they weren't able to communicate effectively, but just like little things like that, you just can't help but think about. So I hope that everyone has a visible menu at some point or another. Everyone
Right.
continues to have those conversations. And I know I answered like 85 questions in there that you didn't ask. So feel free to just pull me back in. Sorry about
No,
that.
it's
I told
okay.
you, once I
I'm not
start.
gonna I'm not gonna lie, my heart cracked a little bit when you said you don't eat fish or lamb. I'm like, "Ah, are you
I
kidding me?
know, I know, I
But
know.
you say a lot of things like pizza, so it's okay. But
Don't
still.
tell anybody.
Okay.
Obviously, this is living forever. I don't eat a lot of things, but I am adventurous with spice. I will try a lot of things, but I'm a very picky eater. But I've gotten much better over the years. Like I didn't eat tomatoes until I was like 23. So I'm just throwing that out there. You too can change.
True, true. Okay, so my next question for you is so Google's plan is so to add at least 1 billion accessibility information on Google Maps.
Mhm.
How far along are we with that plan, or is it a goal? Is it more of a plan or a goal? And how far are we with that?
Well, I think Google's very intentional about everything that we do. So there's always a point that we're working to, but that's not the only point, right? Once we exceed that, we're going to keep going and going and going. So I think that that's like really important to keep in mind. So, to use a sports term, the goalposts keep moving. But I don't think we've updated a piece of, I don't think we've updated that number in recent times. So I wouldn't have a number to share with you, unfortunately. I did try to look around in advance, but in terms of recency of updated numbers, I don't have that for you. But I know it's a lot. And after today, I hope even more because we'll all, rejuvenate our mission.
Thank you, thank you. Good answer. So the next one thing I want to ask is actually you made a good point when you talked about pregnant women and strollers, because it's like when you think about accessibility, you don't really think you just it's not always visible. It's in the everyday
Oh,
life. So it's like I never even thought of that, and but it's so true, right? They would need.
anything, yeah. I
So,
sprained. I bruised my tailbone several years ago because I fell down steps that were icy. So I'm also a klutz. So maybe that's why I have this, I'm usually someone who needs a little extra help because I've had an accident. So I will say that that is also like just walking upstairs. I was like, I cannot walk upstairs. This is so, or like, I think it was the
wow.
walking downstairs that was so painful. And, people are like, you're a healthy young woman, just walk down there. And I was like, you don't know that. But also, and then like, having that awkward conversation. Well, I fell down the stairs. My butt hurts because my tailbone is bruised. I can't walk down these steps because it's excruciating pain. So I think if people just, we saw someone doing something and we don't see something, just go keep that to yourself, right? Unless
Mhm.
you see someone who's like definitely driving, parking into an accessible spot, all crooked, gets out and, you know, actually even that case I couldn't. Unless they said, I do not have a permit and I am not in need of anything. That would probably be the only time that I would say something. But I would probably silently judge them because I'm a fan of that. Yeah.
Makes sense. So Tracy, I have about just 3 more questions for you, and then I will switch it over to Emeka to take on the interactive session. So I know I can see some of my fellow team members asking for questions. So keep your questions coming. One thing I would ask is when we're having the interactive sessions, please keep your questions very short and sweet. I know we have so many comments to tell Tracy, but let it just be mostly strictly questions. And again, if we have more time towards the end, then we can open the floor for more personal questions. So thank you so much for that. Tracy, back to you. One thing I want to ask you. So one of the series one of the one on accessibility series we touched on was disability laws in specific countries and regions. So one thing I want to ask you is, do you think the world has made significant progress in closing the accessibility gap? And do you think the actual disability laws are making an impact in changing the attitudes of our society towards persons with disabilities?
I
I know it's a
think,
heavy question, like a 3-part question.
yeah, and I think so. I do think, thankfully, so the United Nations has an initiative, right? And I know Emeka is very well versed in that, much more well versed than me. So, feel free to talk about that, Emeka, when you come back on camera. I do think so, like from a humanity perspective, a humanitarian perspective, I should say, the United Nations is making some strides in that respect and encouraging other countries and governments to follow along. And I do think that there is an increase in laws that are being created, but I also think that due to just like the sheer infrastructure in a number of like countries or cities,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we're all ready for it, or I don't know that the countries and the cities are ready for that. But I do think the awareness is there, and I do think that there's a really great effort. But I don't think that means that we can get comfortable and stop talking about why it's so important that someone should be able to access any station. And I think once we are, I think at the very bare minimum, I'd love to see at the very bare minimum, every place in the world has a wheelchair accessible entrance, a restroom, seating, and then I'd like for us to focus on continuing to expand that as new things come to light. If you had asked me, I would say 20 years ago, I don't know. I'm like just a really long time ago. If it mattered, if it was really loud in a restaurant, I'd be like, whatever. Actually, I don't think that's true because I remember not liking to go to a bar in college because it was so loud. So anyway, and then just thinking about things like that. And then I think we're just going to be able to continue. And eventually we can get to a world in which that's not even a question and we don't even think about it or have to have these discussions because it's just a normal part of our lives, right? It's every day, So I think that would be it. Yeah. Did I answer all three?
No, you did. You did beautifully. You really did. Because I was like, oh, that's a heavy question. So I want to take, so we have just two more questions. This is a little bit more, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if it's light or not, but really quickly. So for those who are just joining, One Accessibility is a global initiative advocated by local guys. Emeka was actually the one who started it, carefully choosing his team, the vision, and also working with a lot of the leaders in the Google space to make sure it's also aligned with the purpose of improving Google Maps and creating a barrier-free community. So Traci, one thing I want to add, this is more of so kind of a feedback, right? So what do you think about the One Accessibility Initiative and what would you like us to see in order to help change the narrative in our communities?
I think you're doing it. So I think you're all amazing. And I think all of our accessibility champion features on Connect basically feature if it's not one of the members itself, it's a feature, one of the efforts that you've put together. I think you're doing it. You're having those conversations. And because you are a volunteer, initiative, and I have nothing to ask of you all, but I think just keep it up and keep having those conversations. And I think you have great representation from around the world, and I think just keep pulling those folks in because you'll learn so much from other people in other parts of the world who treat just accessibility and inclusion so very differently. And I would really I don't know that there's a list of I'm sure there's a list of the least accessible places in the world, but I would really encourage you to pull in more people if you can from places that have such different perspectives.
Okay, thank you. So make note of that. Thank you. And it will help us as we're planning the next year. So the last question is there any other thing you'd like to share with us, a secret or big revelation, just any fun share? This morning.
Well, Adrian's been ribbing me about sharing the dirt and the secrets, and I don't really think that we don't have any of that.
Adrian, call her out, Adrian.
But I do have something that is related. So, last year we launched Guiding Stars, g.co/Guiding Stars. And that was a way to celebrate 50 people who went above and beyond, just 50 people, because they're far more than that. And this year, we just announced on Connect this morning that will be happening on December 8th. So I can share with you, if you haven't yet read the post, which is okay, we will be sharing our 50 Guiding Stars. And once again, there will be our inclusive mappers, which does include some very special folks who are just like you all and care, if not some of you all. I can't say because it's not yet revealed. However, I do think that that is something that's super exciting, and I would definitely make sure to come back to Connect on December 7th, early in the morning, to help start the festivities for Guiding Stars, which will kick off the next day on December 8th. So I guess summary, come to connect for some more news in the next week.
So Traci basically just gave us a hint. She said, save the date for December 7th. So
Yeah.
take that's in 3 days, y'all. And take notes.
Well, save the date definitely for December 8th, which is Guiding Stars, but
Yes.
definitely come back to connect on the 7th because we have something little fun going on.
Ooh, okay, 7th and 8th. So that's 7th.
Yeah.
We can do that. We can definitely do that.
And the 9th, the 10th, 11th, it's
every day after.
every day.
So thank Traci. I want to thank you so much. You answered the questions so beautifully. And I hope you all were able to get a chance of seeing, her thought process. You can see she's very genuine and everything. Literally, she really, really puts us first. And I love that about you. I really do. So what we're gonna do now is, I know you all have. Thank you. I know you all have been waiting for your questions, Traci. So Traci, just get ready. I don't know. We don't know where this is gonna go. Let's do a little.
Okay, I'm ready.
Thank you, Traci. I'm really happy that you were able to, find time to come on our monthly webinar. This is the 12th since January, and I think this is the most interesting. I keep saying each of the webinars are interesting. Each time something different happens. So I really want to thank the entire team, Jessica, Anna, Chinonso, McCall, and every other person who keeps attending our webinar. So now I want to open up the floor. If you have a question, first of all, I want to allow Jessica, Anna, my team, if you have a question, personal question for Traci, please, the mic is all yours. Thank you.
So it is funny. We had, when we launched the campaign, we, as you know, Jesse, we did a couple of accessibility meetups in a few cities, which started with a visit at a Google office where we walked through the information that we had been sharing. So it was, I guess, the requirements for it. I was allowed to pick any cities that we wanted to go to. I saw that there was interest in Buenos Aires and that we had an office there. So it met both like a community criteria and then just a logistical point of view. And then the third reason, because I'd never been to Buenos Aires and I wanted to visit all of you. I think that was, it was obviously, that was like a very small part of the reason, but it was really because the community in Argentina, particularly Buenos Aires, has been so rich and engaging from the early days of Connect. And I got to meet you. So like, this was like a great part. This whole, like the Buenos Aires community in particular I feel like you all really care about accessibility. And I think that's a really, really cool thing. So I think that was why we had the interest and there were so many local guides there. So thank you. Yeah, anytime. Oh, Rosie has a question.
All right, thank you, Jessica.
Okay.
Okay, Anna.
Okay, I have a question for you, Traci. The idea of local guides connect, the initial concept about local guides connect, who created that? And I'm sure probably a whole bunch of people sit together. Hey, let's do this. So how it happened?
Yeah. So, well, Erna, I'm trying to remember. Erna, I've gotten to know you over the past 2 years. So forgive me if you have been in the program. Like, I know Discovering Connect is its own thing. But many years ago, we had communities all over the place on Google Plus, on Facebook, some official, meaning that we manage them, many unofficial, meaning that the community managed them. And we wanted to create a central place for local guides to get together. And so there's a person who's no longer at Google who came up with did all of the research on which platform would be best and drove forth the initial launch of Connect. So Corey, is no longer at Google or on the team, but she pulled it all together and was able to get the leadership buy-in. And of course, we have Mara, who's our program director, and she comes from an experience, a background with a lot of community experience. So she recognized the value of having a home for local guides where we could share everything. And I think, between the two of us, me, you, and the community, like all of us, we were able to build something really special. What I keep saying anywhere I can is like one of the best places on the internet. So thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, that's a very a brilliant idea, and you just
Yeah.
like combine all ours together into one. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and yeah, absolutely. And I as a side note on Connect, I understand people you know, you may be using another platform every day, and that's okay. We just hope that you'll come to Connect, you know, if and when you want that extra connection with Google, with one another, or if you have something really cool to share. So thank you for participating as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Anna.
Yeah, my question is, Tracy, what you love the most to contribute on the Google Map? Because some love only food pictures, some love to write about accessibility. What you love the most to post on Google Map?
I think the numbers, thank you for that question, Rosie. I think the numbers are pretty clear now when I look at my contributions. You know, I started off as a reviewer because that's all we could do. And then I started taking pictures. I think now it really is all about the pictures. And I think that's a combination of I'm old school. I like writing on a computer. However, at the end of like a workday, I try to get away from my computer. So it's simply I have to be very intentional about when I'm going to write my reviews. So I tend to write my reviews like once a week and like all at once, unless I've had such a phenomenal experience or I don't want to forget something. But photos, I love photos because I can let other people make the decision or I can tell a story with the image. And I think that's really important. So I think things I really like to contribute are unique food dishes, what kind of offerings they have in terms if it's a bar, what beers do they have on tap, because I also love beers, and then really letting people see what the outside looks like, you know, and continuing to like bring them through the journey of having a visit at the restaurant or establishment. And of course, if it's a store, I love zooming in and taking photos of things that you can't find anywhere else. So, you know, we're in New York City. I love wasabi Kit Kats that come from Japan. I can't find them anywhere, but I did go to, we have a Japanese market or Japantown within this larger complex called Industry City in Brooklyn. And they had, it wasn't wasabi Kit Kats, they had the green tea Kit Kats. But I was like, this is amazing. I have to take a picture of this because it's so hard to get this outside of Japan. So photos. I guess I could have just said photos.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Hello, hello. Nice to see you.
First of all, this is, I think, is it okay now?
There's still
It's
an
still
echo.
background, it's still background, teacher.
Okay. From behalf of my country, this is the open invitation. You can come anytime to India. Please welcome. Anytime, any day. Please come to our country and see our beautiful country and beautiful places. So this is just an open invitation. And thank you so much for taking us to the next level as a local guide, because you have teach so many things to us regarding accessibility. I would like to tell you I would be happy. I'm just crossing my finger education system will be involve Google Maps in their curriculum. So my children are enjoying a lot. My students are enjoying the disabled students. So around the world, I cross my finger for this accessibility feature for accessible students. All the government will include the Google Maps to their curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you for that open invitation. I have to tell you, I was supposed to go to Chennai I have two friends who live in the States now, but are from Chennai. And I was supposed to go for Holi in last year, 2020. So India is on my list. I know it's a very big country, so I'll have to be very smart about that trip. And then to your second point, just echoing, I would love to see accessibility information part of the curriculum, and selfishly Google Maps as well. And I know that there are local guides such as yourselves who do teach this, sometimes going to schools, and folks like Alankovan in Sri Lanka, he loves those educational meetups with children. And I think that's so fantastic. So I'm confident that we're getting there.
Cross the finger, everyone. Please, this feature.
Yeah. Tracy, here I would add one more thing. Now elections are coming up, and I told my area, all the corporators, if you make place accessible, then only you will get vote from my area. There are 5,000, and people here, the still awareness is not there about accessibility. And when I met this one, Sagir, he told give 1 star less for accessibility. If accessibility is there, give 5 stars. So I'm with him. I'm giving 1 star less. So we hope India will also be accessible very soon. Thank you.
That would be amazing.
Hi, Tracy. Can I ask you something? Hi, Tracy. Am I audible?
I can hear you. Hi.
Hi, hi.
Hi, Neil.
Since I don't have any question, I don't have any regret, but only one thing I would like to say. I'm sorry for my slow voice. All right. We all miss you, Tracy. We all miss you. With lots of love from India.
Thank you. Don't miss me. I'm not gone yet, and I will never be fully gone. I love all of you, and I really am so thankful to have such a close and important relationship with so many people around the world, and to have so many friends. So thank you.
And as Tejal Ben has already invited you, so no need to repeat again. So you are most warm welcome in India. We'll try to make accessible further more enhance and the capacity will further enhance. Things are improving in India in accessibility front. So
I'm
now
so
you
glad
have
to
no
hear.
reason to come to India. Thank
Okay,
you.
I think I can do that. We just got to get past COVID, and I'm there.
No, India,
Anytime welcome. Anytime welcome. We will
Tracy,
have papda jalebi together.
Tracy, India is safe now. We are already having the record of vaccination. It is safe now in the world. You can
Oh yeah.
come India.
Oh, I didn't mean COVID in India, just COVID everywhere. But you're right. We're still able to travel now, which is nice. So
Vaccination is the highest in India.
congratulations.
So you are also most welcome. We are making safe India for you to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And don't worry, I will be posting on Connect first before I travel anywhere in the future. So I can make sure to see everybody.
Hi. Okay. Doc Dels, you have a question for Tracy?
Yes, yes. So thank you. Hi, Tracy. Hi, everyone. So my question, Tracy. So if traveling now will be open. So for example, I'm traveling to San Francisco or something. How I can contact you or the Google local guides team to be there or should be being invited? And just finger crossed. Thank you for that.
Thank you. So I will say, I can always be reached on Connect, and I think that that's like the best way. But of course, I'm on social media. I think my policy to this point has been to only talk about work stuff, which is local guides, even though I'm a local guide personally. On Connect, I think I'll have to figure out the best way forward to make sure I get to stay in touch with all of you, and be able to attend meetups in the future, get to meet you when you're there. In terms of visiting offices, the offices aren't opening anytime soon in a number of places. So I think that'll be more challenging, but definitely on Connect. You'll still have access to Googlers via Connect. And I hope that, I don't know, I just hope that you and I get to meet at some point too.
That sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And if anyone comes to New York and you host a meetup, or I'm somewhere where you are, I always look for meetups as well. So that's always an option.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I like to know what's going on. I like to hang out.
Exactly. Yeah, well. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you,
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yeah, Alpha, you're next, please. Your question, Alpha. Then Arashi should be the next person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Good to see. It's like that's the year wrapped of accessibility. So again, congratulations, Emeka, and everyone else that has been very instrumental in this thing. I would like to commend you all a lot. It's been a whole year, and which is brilliant. I might not be able to attend all the meetings, but I've been following some of the posts. So congratulations to every one of you. And Traci, let me just make it very short. Beyond contributing on accessibility on MAP, what other ways would you recommend for local guides to contribute towards accessibility? How can they add value in society and the rest, just beyond the mapping? That's my question, and thanks.
Oh, hey, it's always nice to see you. I don't think I've seen you since one of our hangouts last year, so it's so great to see you in person again at a much friendlier time for you. So last year I had been hosting hangouts or meets just to get through the pandemic, and Alpha got to join. So I will say that I think in terms of contributing more we're talking about accessibility information like in the world, right?
Yes, yeah. Accessibility related. Anything beyond just what you do on Google Maps.
Absolutely.
And community based, like.
Yeah, I think it's so obviously if you can find what you all are doing with One Accessibility is great, but I think also if you can find a local organization and check with them on what is most important for them. And an example I have is we have the Adaptive Design Association here in New York City, and I've been following them for a while and making donations. But what they do is they create adaptive furniture out of cardboard for children and adults who need modified furniture, maybe in a school setting. So that has been something that I sought out. What else is going on in the accessibility world that I can contribute to? So I think that's maybe one thing that you can do is just see how you can partner locally. And then I mentioned this earlier, but I do think it's important to just keep having those conversations with your friends, your families, business owners, if you feel comfortable. And I don't think it's necessarily, and I know no one would ever do this, is like, you should be accessible. Why don't you have a great entrance? Did you know it's so loud here? I think it's more of like, hey, do you know that there are 80 million people alone in the United States who have some sort of accessibility need? That really opens up the amount of customers you can have, and then the amount of money that you can make, and it's also the right thing to do. That would be my recommendation based on solely on what I do. But I welcome recommendations from you all or suggestions on what I should do too.
That's very humble, Traci, really. Like that.
Thank you. So is Arati here? Arati, you have a question for Traci?
Yeah. Hi, Traci. Yeah,
Hi,
you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, congratulations on your new role. And then I have joined in 2016. From then to now, the connect has been changed a lot. I think the whole credit goes to you. And then the post which I wrote, and then you mentioned that from 500 local guides today, the local guides has increased to 50 million. So it's just not the number, it's a huge efforts which you all put in. And then that's the efforts we could say, and that's because of you guys I met a lot of people, like I made a lot of worldwide friends. It couldn't have been possible without local guide programs, I would say that. And then I would like to congratulate for such a huge success, and I would like also wish you for the same success in your next role as well. And then I would like one question, that what is your most memorable moment in the local guide program? Thank you, Traci.
Thank you. You said so many beautiful things. Thank you. And we're, it's a huge team that works on Local Guides program and MAPS itself. So yeah, they're going to be so happy to hear all this great stuff. In terms of your question, I was trying to remember because I wanted to thank you. What did you ask me? I'm so sorry, Arati.
I said that, what is your most memorable moment in Local Guide program so far?
Clearly I forget questions from a minute ago, so I hope I can remember. No. I think my most memorable moment, maybe it's because of recency, and it was the last Connect Live that we had, but in Connect Live in 2019, Paul and a bunch of other folks organized a photo walk, and I think the just showing up and seeing everybody together and I was Brittany and I, who organized that year's event, we were a little late, or not a little late, but you all were early, I actually think. And there were so many local guides, and just observing local guides being local guides was like one of the most memorable things for me. And it's something I keep coming back to. And I think it was so great is because the sheer joy on everyone's faces as they hugged each other. Some people they hadn't met before, many people they hadn't met, or someone finally got a visa, so they were able to join us. And I think that joy of seeing each other, which really drove home the connection piece of what I love about community. And then also the purpose. Everyone was like hugging, and then they were like, okay, now let's get to business. We're going on a photo walk, right? And everyone was like, and Jesse, you can probably speak to this, but like people were taking photos of a business, and then someone was like, I'm going to take this photo so we don't upload the same photo to Maps. And I thought that was just so cool. So I just have so many fond memories from that. And maybe because it felt like it was not, I mean, it didn't feel like it was the last time I was able to be together with such a large group of local guides. So I'm going to hold on to that one.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Arati. So, Tejal, you have a question for Traci?
Yeah. Question as well help also. Last Sunday, I had a meetup for the special disabled students are having a games program, and there I met one more school principal. She was invited me to her school, and students are making the paper bag, and they are earning the money. So how can we promote their efforts? Can we help as a local guide? How can we contribute for them? For photos and that I have taken, now I will add the place and everything. I'm going recap and everything. I'm writing on that. I have not prepared with the recap, but students are as an activity they are making paper bags, and their principal are selling that, and whichever money they are getting, the money is given to the students as an incentive. So as a local guide, how can we help them?
Is it help them creating those paperbacks, or I'm so
Yes.
sorry. Okay. I don't know, like as an official perspective, it sounds like that would be something that would be amazing for a meetup, or to just share awareness about. And forgive me if I didn't understand I think it's very, I'm so removed from the school setting. I'm not as familiar what kids are doing these days, but I imagine you're able to probably collect funds to help them out, maybe with a meetup, or just, supporting them too. Money is tight, I think, around the world right now. And I think just like supporting someone whenever you can, whether it is with $1 or encouraging them, I think that goes a really long way. I personally would rather hear a thank you or receive tips on how to keep doing what I'm doing, probably than money right now, because I think that inspiration, you can have all the money in the world, but unless you have it in your heart, you won't continue to do it.
No, I mean to say that they are. How can we help them in the advertisement? This students are making. I'm not giving to. I'm not telling you that we should share a money. Not like that.
Gotcha.
But they are making such a beautiful bag. I have that photo. Gotcha. I will share if you give me the permission, I will share the screen and I'll show you if you don't mind.
Sure, I don't mind. I know where Emeka is counting time, so I would just yeah.
So how can we promote those bags? I'm asking that.
Oh, got you. Well, I would probably have to learn more about the initiative, but it is, we don't allow promotion on Connect. So I think that's challenging at times, just because, it may not necessarily be, oh, okay, got you. Oh, that's nice of them. Yeah. Yeah.
These are made by the students.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And I'm so glad that they have a way to earn income. But because it's technically not related to local guides, it isn't something that could be shared on Connect. But I think, you've made so many great friends. Why not encourage them to buy them? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay, so let me just drop a little advice for Tejal. So since you have such activities from those kids, you could do a community drive with the help of the NGO. or use their social media handles to, create such awareness. So I believe that should help you sell some of those bags. Thank you. So we're already late on time. But if anybody has any question, please let me know before we round up. Any questions?
Answer typing something in chat box, Emeka.
Yeah, answer that question.
Okay. Okay. So
Anshuk has a question.
let me just make my. Okay, Mukul, go ahead, Mukul.
I'm saying Anshuk Mitra has a question. Anshuk Mitra has asked, which is your favorite feature on Google Maps?
Sorry, my favorite feature on Google Maps? Oh, yeah. So I still think it's probably lists and then the accessible layer and then all of the attributes. So I know before I said, the lists on maps, then the attributes, but I can't pick just one. So I feel like anytime someone asks me, I'm going to keep changing my answer. I just want.
Thank you so much.
Sure thing. I'm sorry I can't pick just one, but you know me, Anshuk, so like it's hard. And actually, Rosie, I did want to for Teja call out what Rosie said, which is what I was thinking too. Is for the school, if you're able to write a review for the school, you can. And Rosie says, add the school on Google Maps, and if it's a place that you can review, you can add that the school offers, encourages students to earn income and be creative, and you can put that on their review too. So that's a good point, Rosie. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rosie and Mukul. Would that be all? You have a question for Traci? No.
Just suggestion before we are leaving. Can we have a picture together?
What was that?
To take a picture together?
Oh, a picture. Yeah. Like a groupie?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Can you really hear me?
Donald,
Yes, good evening. Who are we speaking with?
Please, I have a contribution to make too. So please, I really love what you're talking about. Really cool. But please, right now, we over here in Africa, I think we need more of these adverts we're talking about so that more people will get to know about Connect Guide, because it's rare over here. Nobody even knows about it. Just few people knows about it. So seriously, I don't know. However, you can make it happen. We would really love to make more people know about Connect Guide, because you guys are really doing a good job.
Thank you so much, Donald. I'm sorry that I was squinting. I don't know why I do that to try to hear better, but thank you. We have been, we just celebrated the 5th anniversary of Connect, and we let the whole entire community know. But like you, I also would love if more people use Connect. So we will continue to make sure, to invite people to Connect when it makes sense. I also know some people don't want to contribute to the community and they're happy just with that individual experience. Or maybe they, are just not as fun as we are. Just kidding. So I will say we are going to continue to promote Connect and include Connect in all that we do. And hopefully that will increase the number of people that are on Connect. But thank you for being on Connect and all of you here who are on Connect.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, Traci. So guys, I want to thank everybody for attending our webinar today. This is the last webinar for 2021, and it's also an opportunity for us to recall that yesterday was International Day of Persons with Disabilities. So let's continue contributing in our communities in our little ways by writing reviews, putting photos on Google Maps, so that we could help people with disabilities. And I want to thank Traci. The first time I knew I could do something on Google Maps as local guide was after Tracy posted an event about Global Accessibility Awareness Day. You know, that very day, in my heart, I knew that I wanted to do something like this. So I had to call up my friend Dan, Uroy. I said, Uroy, I saw something Tracy posted on Connect, but I don't know. I want to do something about it. Can I just start something about it? So Uroy was like, oh, wow, you need to ask Tracy for a permission first before you could do something. So I asked Tracy, she said it was okay. So from then, I started contributing. I remembered how my friend in high school, how we used to carry him because the school doesn't have ramps and all those stuff. I said, wow, this is interesting. I could really do something. So that's how the idea started. And I'm happy that after Connect 2018, I met Tracy one-on-one, I met Sasha. So I was encouraged, to take it to the next level. Then I had to, look for local guys that are also interested. So we had people like Jessica come in, we had people like Chinonso, people like Anna, you know, and other local guys who were with us, Kashif and so. It's not easy writing like every week. We're pushing you to write something, an article. Some people had a lot of engagements that couldn't really allow them, keep with the whole task. So we understood. But for us that kept going, I just want to thank the whole team. If not for the inspiration from Tracy, possibly I'll just be taking photos like she's doing right now. But I'm just happy that I'm contributing accessibility information to the map, and globally, a lot of people are finding those information useful. So thank you to Tracy. Thank you for the opportunity of Google to give us local guides. We have made friends across the world, across the continent. So I'm really grateful. So thank you, Tracy. As long as you're still in Google, premises, company, really love you. I don't want to say much because I've been heartbroken that you're leaving local guy, but I'm going to keep praying that he send you back to the local guides community. So that's my little contribution, Tracy. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for coming to our webinar.
And wait, Emeka, hold on,
Merry
side note, because
Christmas.
I want side Emeka, hold on, hurry, because I need everyone to hear
Okay.
this because Emeka, he never gives himself recognition, but like the way he approaches things, he puts others first. So even when he like introduced one accessibility to me, every time there's a post that relates to accessibility, he always tags the team. So like I just want to shout out Emeka, like doing amazing. And he's always like behind the scenes. Like if you see him, he's actually kind of quiet, but he can be funny sometimes. So I just wanted like Emeka, you're doing amazing, amazing, amazing. So we appreciate you, and you've helped so many people. Like he was actually the one that made me more active on local guys. Like he literally told me about, you know what I'm saying, and then said, "Hey, if you're interested, this is it." So Emeka, can we just give him a round of applause?
Yes, and I was going to add here all the nice things you said about me. I appreciate that, but they can also be said about Emeka and all of you. And like when you are, no matter what you're passionate about, I hope it's accessibility because we can do so much better as a society. You don't have to do it every single day. You can do it when you're ready, when you can. Every little bit helps. And Emeka and One Accessibility are going to be there as we'll connect, in helping you to make sure that you can find other people. So thank you, Emeka. You are amazing. And so is the whole One Accessibility group. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you, Emeka.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everybody.
And Tracy.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Great job, Ameka. Great job.
We do have sometimes differences, but we work it out really
All right,
good.
guys.
Thank you.
Let's have
Bye.
some
So
photo,
guys,
please.
would like to take a photograph.
Yes.
So would like to take a photograph. So kindly put on your video. Yeah.
I see you okay already. Ready for a photo.
Oh, goodness.
Emeka, you're really doing well. I think I'll have to congratulate you on that one because you're the first person that motivated a group to bring the local guys together. together in Africa. You really did something wonderful. I tried doing that, but I couldn't really get around it. But I think I'm happy for you. You really did something well. So please keep it up, and we would love to meet up face to face and get more ideas. You know, over here we are. It's really hard, but try and make it easier for us so that we can meet up. We're having something happening on Futu. I think by tomorrow I'm going to be there. I would love to meet you up face to face if you're around. So we'll talk more about this because we really have more airs to view, but it seems the distance has really been a problem. So congratulations. I think you're man of the year though.
Thank you, Donald. All right, guys, let's take the photo shoot. Jesse, are you ready?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sida pilot.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
All right, thank you, guys.
Bye, Tracy.
Tracy.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Amika. Bye, Anna.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Anil bhai, get well soon. Happy to see you again. Get well soon, Dada. Three cheers to you.
Keep your head high.
Yes, yes.
You look better, Anil.
Coming.
Yeah.
Happy to see you.